It had generally been assumed that the first German airships would be deployed against England, and by the time of the first Zeppelin raids in January of 1915, German propaganda had made the British population nervous with their boasts that they would bomb England into submission. The first such raids were carried out on the night of January 19th, when the L-3 and L-4 dropped 15 or so high-explosive bombs on and around Yarmouth. The results were less than impressive, with 4 civilians killed and a railway power station hit, but the British government, feeling the need for improved home defense, began installing searchlights and guns around their key cities in southeastern England. London was bombed for the first time in early May, and again, no significant damage was reported. In the following months, more raids against London were attempted by the German giants, but these had, at best, a psychological effect on the English population and no real military value. On the night of June 6th, LZs 37, 38, and 39 took off from the Zeppelin base at Aire, Belgium, and set out for the trip to London. After barely heading out to sea, LZ-38 developed engine troubles and returned to its home shed. At about the same time the airships had lit out for their night's attack, several British aircraft of the Royal Naval Air Service had been dispatched to bomb the Zeppelin sheds at Aire and St. Agathe. LZ-38 was destroyed in its shed when Flight Lieutenant J.P. Wilson scored a direct hit after dropping 3 65-pound bombs from his Henry Farman biplane. Another British pilot, Sub-Lieutenant Reginald Warneford, in a Marine Parasol, abandoned his plans to bomb the sheds at St. Agathe when he stumbled upon LZ-37 cruising in the fog above the coastal town of Ostend. For 3/4 of an hour, Warneford stalked the German giant, straining to gain the advantage of height over his adversary. When he finally obtained a position from which to carry out his attack, Warneford traversed the length of the Zeppelin and released his 6 20-pound bombs. 150 feet below the Englishman, the dirigible erupted in a great explosion that nearly tossed the Parasol from the air. The roaring metallic inferno fell earthwards, spilling men and equipment before crashing to the ground, a mass of twisted and blackened girders. Only one crewman survived the destruction of LZ-37 after he fell through the roof of a convent and landed in a nun's bed. The loss of the 2 airships that night was the cause of much dissertation amongst the Zeppelin commanders, and as a result the forward bases were abandoned and the remaining airships relocated to northern Germany. The High Command, still believing that raids against Great Britain would prove to have strategic value, stepped up its pressure for more attacks against the enemy homeland, and ordered the Chief of Naval Airships, Captain Peter Strasser, to continue his bombing missions. And so, for the time being, the Zeppelin attacks on England would continue.